You are live.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the June meeting of the Board Committee on Academic and Student Affairs. I hereby call the meeting to order. I'd ask the secretary to call the roll, please.
Thank you. Regent Bloom?
Present.
Regent James?
Present.
Regent McCarthy?
Present.
Regent Porth? Regent Porth.
How are you?
Hi, he's here. And then I'd also just like to take a moment to recognize our ex officio member, Professor Kalina Sasenka. And we have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Okay, first item is the approval of the minutes of the May 5th, 2023 meeting. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second.
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 Any comments about the minutes? Okay. All those in favor of approving the minutes? Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, minutes are approved. First item, consent item, discontinuation of the supply chain analytics certificate at Central. Dr. Kathoria, do you want to start?
Yes, thank you, Regent Bloom. Good morning, everyone. The first item is the Supply Chain Analytics, the official certificate program. Central Connecticut State University seeks the approval for discontinuation of the Supply Chain Analytics official certificate program. The School of Business Studies Programs Council voted to discontinue this program due to low enrollment and limitations in curriculum. For students interested in supply chain management, there is an MS degree program that is offered in the School of Engineering, Science and Technology, and CCSU offers a supply chain management career path in the MBA program. Provost Costellas will speak to the item and introduce colleagues as needed to comment and answer questions.
Great, thank you. I don't know if there are any questions regarding the discontinuation, and not to repeat what the provost just mentioned, but it does tie in actually to an item of our new program, and some of that came through continued discussions across schools and making sure that we're maximizing our enrollments and our resources and all of the above. And out of the discussions came that we would like to discontinue this. There are other options that still meet the original goals of the certificate, and so we're aligning our resources better and looking at enrollments as well.
Thank you. Any questions? I had a question of whether the new business analytics certificate that is part of our below threshold items is connected. Is that part of what you've done to reorganize this?
Somewhat, and out of the discussion, those interdisciplinary discussions came the working with our programs from our other schools to make sure that we're maximizing resources across the areas, because we do have a master's in supply chain and analytics. It didn't make sense to also be offering a certificate program.
Okay, and there are no students left in this program, I gather.
Correct.
Okay. Are there any other comments or questions? Motion to approve this item, move it forward.
So moved.
Second.
I'll second.
Any other comments? All in favor of approving the discontinuation?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. First action item, new program, business analytics BS at Central. Provost Kathoria.
Thank you, Regent Bloom. Central Connecticut State University seeks the approval for a new Bachelor of Science program in Business Analytics. The need for professionals who are educated in analytics continues to increase as all types of organization feel the unprecedented impact of those changes, driving a demand for employees who can analyze and interpret data. The BS in Business Analytics program is designed to fulfill the educational needs of students who want to pursue a career in business analytics and provides technical data analysis skills along with insight development and problem-solving skills. Provost Costellus will speak to the item and introduce colleagues as needed to comment and answer questions.
Great, thank you so much. With me today, I do have our Dean of the School of Business, Lisa Frank. But before I turn it over to her, I just wanted to reiterate kind of a comment that I was starting. I alluded to in the discontinuation item is that we really have been spending a lot of time having those conversations across schools. How can we maximize our resources, looking at our enrollments, looking at our programs, and working together so that, again, we can maximize what we have in place. And this is an example of that, and is also an example of something that we've been preparing for a number of years, so that we're not putting forth a new program and asking for resources to be able to continue to offer the program. We've been planning for this. We have built a business analytics lab that was over a number of years so that we could maximize resources that were available, so it wasn't a large project. We also have been hiring, as we're been hiring new faculty. We've also been keeping in mind and looking at trying to maximize their experience to be able to teach in this area, as it is an interdisciplinary major as well. So I just wanted to sort of lift that piece of what we're doing at the university so that when we do bring these forward, we have been thinking about them and planning for them for a number of years. So with that, I'll turn it over to our dean, who can speak more specifically on the program and answer any questions.
Thank you, Provost. Good morning, everyone. I'll just add the motivation, as the Provost mentioned, we started this a couple of years ago. The motivation came from feedback that we were hearing from our business partners, that they'd like business students who have a greater capacity to analyze data. And so putting that data analysis and analytics into the business program made sense for us. So we conducted a market analysis through Hanover, which confirmed the demand for education and business analytics, and also just pointed to very few existing business analytics programs in the region. So we did design the program in an interdisciplinary nature, and we continue to expand our interdisciplinary reach with the program by working with other departments who are interested in combining their resources with ours in order to broaden the expansion of this program to other departments. You might remember from the recent program that we also brought forward that we have a foundation in the School of Business where all of our students take the same core. So that allowed us to create a pathway from the community college for transfer students to bring 61 credits into our business programs. And this program is the same. So we've created that articulation, working to identify the specific course numbers right now, but community college students will easily be able to transfer in 61 credits to any of our degree programs, but this one included because it has the same common core. And then we also see this program as a pipeline for students who want to move from an undergraduate program into either the graduate official certificate program in accounting analytics or the OCP in business analytics, which was mentioned is on the agenda for today also. So I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank
For
you.
your time.
Thank you very much. Questions? First of all, a motion to put this on the table for consideration.
So moved.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
comments, questions, Regent James?
Question. I know that the field of business analytics is in increasing demand in every sector. How are we thinking about artificial intelligence and how all of this impacts our educational programming?
Would you like me to jump in, Provost, or would you like to answer that?
Sure, and I can just speak in general. I mean, this is definitely something that we're looking at as a university, and we're putting together a group to look at that and how can we, similar to what we've done, we created an XR lab that's interdisciplinary that cuts across teaching in all areas, and we're planning to do the same. And so this program would be a key component in that development of that and integration. And actually there's been some additional discussions that just came across yesterday actually regarding integrating more of the AI into some of the programs too, which are under discussion right now too.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments about that, to that question?
I'll just add that we have faculty members in the School of Business who are doing research on AI. And so they bring that into our programming. And we're also working with the Center for Teaching and Innovation that are planning to do additional workshops for faculty on AI and incorporating AI into the curriculum.
AI is certainly, since November, certainly kind of thrown itself in front of us. So, that I think that becomes important for the future. Other questions or comments from the regents? I have the proposal talks about an additional line for this year and a possible additional line needed for the following, I guess, for FY25. Does the university have the capacity to do this
Yes, we do.
internally without additional?
Yes.
Okay. Other comments or questions? Okay.
Regent Both.
Yes, I'm sorry, Provost Kathoria. Yes.
Thank you. Just quickly, I think the last question is a really important one that we should ask about all of our offerings, really. How will AI, and this is a question that people all around the world are trying to grapple with right now, but it would be a useful, I think, addition to the way we think about our work to consider the impact of artificial intelligence on the work that we do and on the work that our graduates will hopefully do. Thanks.
Thank you. Other comments? Okay. Do we, Regent Porth, did you have any other, your hand was still, do you have? Okay. I think we're going to put this forward. If there are no other comments or questions, we'll put this forward, vote for approval. Given the circumstances, I think there should be an understanding that all of any new program proposal is subject to financial ability, subject to the ability, given what is going on in the world around us. So I don't know if we want to add that to the motion or just move forward with understanding that is what is happening.
Can I just make a brief comment regarding that and a
Yes.
little, because I did just answer yes, we have the ability to be hiring the faculty, but to further explain that and maybe be more confident in that, yes, is that in the past, when faculty have retired, and we all know that we have all experienced a number of retirements due to the contract changes. When we went to refill, we did not approve many positions to be refilled due to enrollment. So we still have those lines, and that's where we're now starting as enrollments are growing and as we're adding more innovative and more interdisciplinary programs and offerings. That's where we're now able to pull from some of those faculty lines. So this, again, coincides with how we've been trying to plan for this appropriately and being fiscally responsible in doing so.
Thank you. That comment is very helpful. Any other comments or questions? Okay. Motion to move to approve this item. Regent McCarthy, second.
I'll second.
Second, okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion is carried. Thank you. Program is approved by the committee, recommended to the board.
Thank you.
Next item is modifications. Provost Kathuria, first item.
Thank you, Regent Bloom. This is the last of 4 modifications to the graduate reading program at Southern Connecticut State University. They are seeking approval for revisions to the grad certificate in remedial reading and language arts specialist. As nearly all of the students matriculated in the programs work as full-time educators or administrators in the P12 settings located around Connecticut, being physically present for classes on a weekly basis is a significant challenge. The modification of instructional delivery is to allow students to reduce their travel time and the time when they need to be physically present for their classes by more than half. Provost Present will speak to the proposal and introduce colleagues as needed to comment and answer questions.
Thank you, Provost Kathuria. I don't really have a lot to add to what the Provost has said. This is basically wrapping up the 4th of 4 components of our remedial reading and language program. And as Provost Kathuria said, it is the vast majority of our students in the program are P12 teachers. And by going hybrid, it will make life easier for them and will allow us to expand our geographic range as well.
A motion to put this on the table for consideration.
So moved.
Second. Comments from the regents, questions?
I have a question in general. I know that there is a whole movement questioning our whole reading methodology and teaching, and I believe the state of Connecticut has really signed on to be part of this examination. So as we have future meetings on academic affairs, I'd just like to hear a little bit more about how we are thinking about that.
I think it's important to recognize the Dean of our College of Education, Stephen Hegedus, who is not here today. He had other responsibilities he had to attend to, and this felt like a straight enough proposal that we wouldn't need his in-depth expertise. But I can assure you, he is a leader, as are the faculty in our reading programs, in reading modern approaches to learning reading among our students. And I can have them put something together and get back to the ASA or any individual board members as you like, but I'm not going to be able to go into the depth that you may want.
No, that's fine. As again, I'm not thinking about it in terms of today, but as we look to the future. And if those of you who, I've recently seen the video, the documentary Right to Read, which raises a lot of questions about the effectiveness of different methodologies of teaching reading. So I just thought it would be something of interest for this committee to explore at some point in the future.
I think we could certainly put this item on this on the agenda for future discussion for discussion on. I mean, there have been many articles and comments recently about phonics versus et cetera.
Right.
And I think I think it's an important question that Regent James, that you have asked here, because I think that is what people are looking at the moment, and how we teach reading, and whether we have been teaching reading in the most effective way over the last number of years. And so thank you. Yeah, we will. I think we will. Further questions, comments about this item? Okay. Motion to approve this item.
So moved.
Second. All in
Second.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Item is approved. Thank you. Next item is the MA in Teaching Secondary Education. Provost Kathoria.
Thank you, Regent Bloom. Western Connecticut State University seeks the approval for the modification of the Masters in Arts in Teaching in Secondary Education. This modification is designed to recruit from a larger pool of applicants, especially underserved communities where transportation to campus is difficult, thereby increasing enrollment of high-quality, diverse candidates. The proposed 100% online platform will provide the most accessible instructional modality to accommodate the working graduate student and serves an effort to support retention. Dean Palladino will speak to the item and introduce colleagues as needed to comment and answer questions.
Hello, I'm Joan Palladino. This is very similar to what we've been hearing. This is a very successful program. It's an on-ground pretty much program, but we have moved to a lot of online. It's still going to have some in-person classes, but most of it will be online, and it's because it's the working adult. These students are working, and it's very difficult for them sometimes to attend classes in the evening. A few of the classes that we do have, sometimes we do merge them sometimes with undergraduates, which does help in the certification process. But I think that pretty much it stands for itself. We're just taking this very successful program and just moving over 50% of our classes will be online. So that's why we're seeking the modification. I'm glad to take any questions anybody has.
Questions from the regents? The online courses are synchronous or asynchronous?
Combination, depending on the course. They all have a synchronous component, though. There's never a time in this particular program. There's a lot of meeting because of they're going for certification. There's a lot of meetings, especially around they still take the praxis exams, the EdTPA. So Catherine Rowe is actually here. She's a department chair, and I know you have to go, Catherine, to the meeting, but I think they're pretty much a lot of synchronous, but there is some asynchronous component. Is that correct?
There's always an asynchronous component, but this course there's a lot of personal interaction with the director of praxis coordinator, the placement coordinator, myself as their coordinator and advisor. So we always have information sessions. I think that it's important to underscore that in order to mitigate the teacher shortage, our teachers really need to be out in the field teaching. These are content area specialists, and they're filling the needs in the community. And there's no way that they're going to be able to get back to campus every day, as the previous review just reported. So we are moving to this modality to accommodate students so that they're allowed to teach in their discipline and also take the pedagogical classes that they need to support their practice.
Comments or questions from the regents? Seeing none, motion to approve this item.
So moved.
Second. Second.
Any other comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Item is approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Next item is the program alignment, item 4C. I think presenter will be Dr. Maya LaPierre Drager for this.
Yes.
Provost Kathoria.
Yeah, thank you, Regent Bloom. In preparation for the completion of the CT state merger, alignment of the community college programs and certificates involved synthesizing the pre-existing 600 plus programs and 400 plus certificates previously approved by the individually accredited institutions and the Board of Regents into a single set of programs and certificates with common names, descriptions, learning outcomes, and courses, including a common general education core for degree programs. The two programs before you today missed prior alignment deadlines. Provost LaPierre Drager will speak to the items and introduce colleagues as needed to comment and answer questions.
Hello, good morning. It's nice to see everyone. I'm Dr. Maya LaPierre Drager. I'm the interim provost for CT State. And yes, we do have two programs we're bringing before you that were in place last year. They've been in place for a number of years at our legacy campuses. But for some reason, they did not get into the alignment process that CT State went through for all of our previous programs. So the first one is health science that was previously at Capital Community College. It was a unique program there. And I have Dr. Paula Dowd, our Dean of Nursing and Career Services, Health Career Services, is here as well to answer questions.
Any questions or comments? Okay, you want to continue, please? Oh, I'm sorry, Professor Sanker.
Oh, and I see Regent James has a question. I didn't know
if you were looking to move the, so.
Gotcha.
I think I got ahead of myself there.
All right, and I just want to ask the sort of justification, et cetera, is unusual looking. It's not particularly specific to the program itself. So I just wanted to ask about that and about the actual sort of governance process that this particular program took, because it seems to be a holdover from our previous governance, which is the previous stand-in for governance, which might have been the APRC process. So could you say more about that?
Yes, so a little bit of background on the new CT State governance structure for those who aren't familiar. That process went through a lengthy discussion over a series of years. Last fall, there was a number of changes to the plans for the governance structure because the academic structure for CT State actually pivoted. There was a plan at one time to have statewide academic departments with associate deans across the state and a governance structure that reflects that. However, the academic structure did pivot back to the notion of campus-based academic departments after lengthy conversations with campus constituents, faculty, and staff. That was the decision that was made. So the governance structure that was stood up for CT State was built based on feedback specifically from our faculty. So the first stage is statewide discipline councils, what we call SDCs. And so there are 29 of them across the state. They include representatives from each campus that has programming related to that subject area or that discipline. And those are specialty groups that do the real hard work of the initial passes with curriculum. Each one of them has a cycle where they have an initial meeting. Once they go through their initial work and they decide it's ready to move on, it goes to a public comment for a month. And that's posted on our website. Feedback is gathered from all campuses, and that feedback is returned back to the SDC, at which time the SDC incorporates any changes or any feedback, and it moves on to what's called the School Area Curriculum Committee. There are 6 of them. There are 6 schools in CT State. So for example, this program is under the School of Nursing and Health Careers. So there is a SAC and SACC for nursing and health careers. That's comprised of 1 representative from each of the 12 colleges across CT State. And once it goes through that, it goes to an interdisciplinary curriculum congress that has representatives of faculty from each of the 6 schools across the state of Connecticut. And I believe it's 3 faculty reps in each school, plus additional staff representatives from, can't quite remember, it might be financial aid and counseling and those types of representatives. But that is the curriculum governance process, and then it comes to me and of course to academic council and up here to the ASA. So this has gone through the process of the entire governance. It was something that should have come through APRC, but it didn't. And the faculty member at the campus did not realize that it had been overlooked. So this did come through the new governance structure.
Okay, thank you. And so I guess I'll just follow up. I didn't realize that. I thought that that committee or that Congress was still establishing itself and hadn't yet passed bylaws, et cetera. So, okay, got it.
So they haven't passed their final bylaws, but they created operating procedures for this semester to work under. They are.
Okay. And the rationale is again not specific. And I was just wondering, you mentioned that this was something that was offered at Capitol. And the reason I was surprised is because it doesn't really explain why this particular iteration of the program is the one that has been approved for the 12 colleges. So is that because it only was offered in one location in the first place?
Yeah, and I can actually provide a little bit of unique perspective because I was actually the dean at Capitol when we created this program. I was the dean of academic and student affairs there at the time. And so this program was created out of an abundance of need because at Capitol in particular, we have the largest nursing program in the state with approximately 165 students each year come into the nursing program, 16 full-time faculty. And we normally have approximately 400 students or more each year that are in the general studies aspiring to get into the nursing program. Now, those are our best estimates. We imagine it may be much more than that. And we found that we really did not have a strong program that students could use as an alternate if they did not get into their desired, specialized, accredited, competitive program of choice. So the health science degree was developed in partnership between, at the time, the allied health department, the nursing department, the paramedic program, the medical assisting program, the rad tech program. You know, they all collaborated to develop this health science as a broad program that would articulate into the four-year health science at the universities. So it was a really great win-win for students. And so that was why it was created at Capitol. It was the first of its kind across the community colleges, but there were health science degrees at the four-year institutions. There just wasn't an associate yet. So that's why it was so urgent that we got this in there so that students who are in the program have a place to land come fall and continue on in their studies. Not all of them continue through the program because, again, it's a great starting place when they're trying to get into a more competitive program. But for those who don't, it's also a wonderful landing pad to go on to other allied healths and other disciplines at the university level.
What percentage of the students that start out aspiring to be nurses actually end up in the nursing program?
I wish I had those numbers off the top of my head, but I know at Capitol, for example, there were often hundreds of students on waiting lists. And again, we can only accept 165. And that's the largest of the 6 programs in the state. They range from 165 at Capitol per year. I think Naugatuck Valley is roughly 125. Gateway, I think, is roughly 100 or 96. And they range all the way down to about 35 or 40 at Three Rivers. So, you know, it really is a broad spectrum of how many students can get into which nursing program, but it's very competitive.
And I presume this process screens out the students who are unlikely to succeed in the nursing program.
Absolutely. And the nice thing about the program is it has the criteria that are needed for the entry-level qualifications to get into those programs, the prerequisite courses, but it also has options in there where they can take an or option so that they don't necessarily have to go through all of the most stringent if they decide they don't want to go into nursing, et cetera. They do have more flexibility.
Which is good, yeah. Thank you. Questions or comments from the regents?
I just want to say that this challenge, as our colleague recognized, is really a national challenge because nursing programs everywhere face the challenge of providing successful career paths for the hundreds or thousands of students, depending on the size of a place, who will not be admitted to very selective nursing programs. So I think building this in is really a forward-thinking approach, and one that focuses on the long-term needs of students to make sure that they have career options that are related, parallel to what might have been their first option. The other challenge I've seen in being responsible for nursing programs is that I think, put it in perspective of the developmental status of most of our students, a lot of people, including ones who make it into very competitive nursing programs as first-year students, are 17 or 18 years old. And one of the things they learn through the process is that clinical nursing is really not where they want to go.
Yeah.
And they also need, even the so-called successful students, need options other than the one that they thought they wanted several years prior. So I think this is a very important program for all kinds of students.
And one other thing, just to kind of put it out there as well, when we developed this program, it was right when COVID hit. So it was a brand new program for the institution. And we had estimated that we would likely have about 115, 125 students in the first year. Well, the program has only been up and running for a few years, and I just looked at the numbers. Last year, they had 262 students in the program.
Yeah.
So we anticipate this is going to be a really exploding program once CT State becomes, one institution across the 12. It's really going to grow, and it's just going to create a lot more options for students. And I think it's also going to be the springboard for developing additional programs throughout allied health.
The other experience, and add to Regent McCarthy's comment, students who start out, some of the students who start out aspiring to be nurses are not aware of the other, always aware of the other health careers that are possible, and this would expose them to a more, to a broader range of opportunities. I mean, I've also in past lives had responsibility for nursing programs, and there are some very capable students who end up when they're in the clinical courses in the middle of the night, and the patients are yelling for help, and there's no doctor around, and they run screaming from, they don't want to deal with it, and it's important that they understand, what's involved in this. I think I agree with Regent McCarthy. This is very important to keep, to set it up this way. Other comments from the regents? Okay. Motion to approve the C1 Health Science AS degree.
So
Second.
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion is carried. Thank you. Second item is the certificate, program alignment C2 certificate in photography.
And yeah, this is me again. So this particular certificate, again, same situation. This is an existing certificate on one of our campuses. There are students in the program that would like to be able to continue this and move on with CT State. So with me is B.L. Baker. He's the Dean of the Arts and Humanities Department as well, and he can speak to questions for this one.
Go ahead. Are we ready?
This is a good sign.
Is Dean Baker, are you here?
Oh, yes, I am here. Would you like me to speak more about the program?
It's up to your provost.
We're welcome to. It's a pretty straightforward thing. It's an 18 credit certificate in photography. It aligns with the photography option of visual arts in our associate degree. And so these typically are zero cost additions to have these certificates because the same courses and the same program are already in existence in the associate degrees. So just a stackable credential.
Okay, that's good. That's important to know. Comments from the regents? Motion to approve item C2, certificate photography.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Certificate is approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item is the CT state policies, associate degree revision, page on the revision C, I'm sorry, B, D, D3, 4D3. Dr. Pierre Drake, are you speaking to this one?
I'm actually going to turn this over to Dr. Amy Fest. She's our academic vice president of academic curriculums and programs, and she has been leading a Herculean effort over the past year with many, many folks to update policies for CT State and also do some work with Pam Moline for, just legacy policies that were part of the old Board of Trustees manual, and really getting them into the right language for CT State. So there are 3 of them, and I will turn this over to Amy to speak to all 3.
Thank you, Maya. And I apologize. I have a little cold I picked up on vacation. So if I start coughing, I do apologize. So the first policy before you is the the modification to the associate's degree current policy. So as we are sunsetting the Board of Trustees policies that have existed for the past several decades, some of them are easy to sunset because they have been replaced by more current Board of Regents policies. But we did come across one policy, earning a second associate's degree, that does not have a counterpart in the Board of Regents policies as they currently exist. So working with Pam Helene, we determined that the policy that currently exists under the Board of Regents, the policy statement on associate's degrees, was a natural home to embed the earning a second associate's degree policy that was a standalone policy previously. And this really just gives guidance. We have a lot of students who want to earn 2 or more associate's degrees, and this gives some clear guidance on when that is appropriate and when that is not appropriate.
Okay. Comments or questions from the regents? I'm sorry, Regent McCarthy, did you have your hand up?
No.
I saw somebody say, oh, Regent Porth, I'm sorry.
Can someone speak a little bit more to the process that that this policy recommendation went through to
Absolutely.
reach ASA? Thanks.
Absolutely. So we did have several subcommittees that have been working, as Provost Lapierre just mentioned, that have been working on academic policies, student policies, facilities, all kinds of policies. So they were first vetted through this committee, and then the committee brought it through our governance process. It went through our cabinet, and it went through then our governance process, which is our Senate, and our Senate actually voted to approve to move this forward.
Great, thank you.
Any other comments or questions about D1 associate degree revision? Motion to approve this policy.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Associate degree revision policy is approved. Second, academic standing.
So the second policy is the academic standing policy. And so this policy actually went through a pretty major revision. The former policy under the Board of Trustees was really about 80% procedure and very little actual policy. And we really want to separate procedure from policy because every time we want to change the procedure, it would then have to come before the board, which is really not a good use of your time. But we also wanted to very clearly separate the difference between financial satisfactory progress and academic satisfactory progress. And those are 2 very different things. The financial satisfactory progress is determined by the federal government, and it really determines whether or not a student can continue to receive financial aid. versus academic progress, which is really making sure and ensuring a student is continuing on towards their degree program in a manner that we determine will allow them to successfully complete in the end. So we have broken off the two of them, and we are putting forward the academic standing as a standalone policy, which will very clearly differentiate itself from the financial standing policy. The other thing we really meant to do when we looked at this policy was to remove the deficit language, because before it talked about warnings and suspension and probation, and we really wanted to move it to be much more of a positive, forward affirming policy for students, where will be structured supports put into place. And those details, while they're not in the policy, will be in the procedure, where as students hit certain thresholds of falling below a certain academic average, they will have supports put into place by our guided pathway advisors, and will really be guided as to the number of credits they can take to successfully transition to the next term. So this policy before you is much more condensed. It really is only focused on the academic side of the standing, and it gives just guidance on that students can't repeat a course more than twice without approval, because that's what students try to do to increase their GPA. They'll repeat a course over and over and over again, and to get into a cycle where it's really not very good. And then it also provides some guidance for the institution on the procedure that students who fall below a 2.0 average will have structured levels of support to guide them towards academic success.
Okay, thank you. Comments? I actually have a question about the text of the new that I found a little confusing. I'm not sure if there may be a typo here. If a student fails to complete the required work or fails to submit the work by a specified time, or if the faculty member fails to submit a replacement grade, the campus supervisor of enrollment supervisor, I think that's intended to be an or. But before we put into policy, we should make sure that it's what we want it to be. That's on page 58 of the agenda.
I believe that language is in the next policy.
It's in the next policy. Yes, you're looking at the next policy. The policy we're looking at now is, yep, we can look at that one next.
Okay, I'm sorry. Yes, you're right. I was ahead of myself.
No, you're okay. It took me a second. I'm like, I think that sounds like the next policy. That's why I was just looking at my papers.
Okay, I'm sorry. Yes.
Nope.
Let's stay with academic standing. Let's stay with the. Okay. That's intended to be grading notations and academic engagement.
That's the next policy. The policy we're looking at right now is Connecticut State Community College Academic Standing Policy.
Okay. Okay. So let's look at any comments on the academic standing policy.
None. I think it makes sense, the separation and the process that you have established now. It feels much more student focused in terms of student success. So
that's the intention. Thank you.
The student, separately, I take it, would have to consult with the financial aid office to see what their status is regard to the financial aid.
Yes, and that is always done, where the advisor will explain to students the difference between where they stand for their financial aid and where they stand for their academic standing. That's a conversation that's ongoing.
Okay, but the academic standing advice could impact the students. Could impact the students' financial aid.
Yes, but the way we are working with the procedure, we are ensuring that they are as closely aligned as we can, so that a student who is falling out of academic good standing would almost always also fall out of financial aid's good standing. They really do run parallel, but we just don't want to confuse a student, because a student could come into good academic standing again, but according to the federal government, still not quite meet the threshold for financial, and they don't understand that there's a difference.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Questions or comments about this item? All those in favor of motion to approve this item? I'm sorry, to approve policy D2, academic standing.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Academic standing policy is approved. Okay, now D3, grading notations and academic engagement.
Thank you. The last one before you today. So this is mostly cleaning up of language. As you can see, Pam Helene was fabulous in helping us to put this together and highlighted for you those sections that have actually changed in the policy. The first one being that this gives the authority to the CT state provost over the grading notations and academic engagement, which is very important. The second is under an incomplete. One of the biggest items that needed to be addressed on this was previously it says the student needed to attend at least 60% of the course. We are not institutions that grade based on attendance. We are institutions. There's federal guidelines that determine whether you're an attendance taking institution or a non-attendance taking institution. This makes it sound like we do take attendance. Students cannot be graded on attendance in our system. It goes against the federal regulations. So we did want to change the language that they have participated in and completed at least 61% because that gets them over the threshold of having enough work completed that there can be a determination that the work can be completed if an incomplete is granted. It also gives a little bit clearer guidance on if the student fails to submit work on time, what will happen. So those are the two sections under the incomplete that we changed. Under audit, we definitely wanted to have some guidance because the way this is written, a student who is in a winter or a summer or a short-term course, there needs to be within the first 4 weeks. That's longer than a winter course, and it's almost as long as a summer course. So we did change some of the language to ensure that it says within the first 20% of a term where the course is offered, and also provides a little bit more guidance on how what courses qualify for auditing and what courses do not, and how many times a course can actually be audited. So we just wanted to be a little bit more explicit in our audit language because as we've changed the various semesters and the lengths of terms, it really has impacted some of the policies like auditing a class. And I think you had a typo that you wanted us to look at.
Well, on page 58 in the new language, I'm not sure what that means. The second line, this paragraph reads, if a student fails to complete the required work or fails to submit the work by the specified time, or if the faculty member fails to submit a replacement grade, the campus supervisor of enrollment supervisor.
Oh, I think it's an extra supervisor, the campus supervisor of enrollment or their designee. You are right.
So we need to fix that language, right?
Yes,
So
you would be correct. We have a double supervisor.
So what should it read? So we have it on the record.
I'd say the campus supervisor of enrollment.
Campus supervisor of enrollment. Okay.
Yes.
So the second supervisor is redundant. Okay.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome. I was not clear on what that was trying to say. Is there a provision for a student, any kind of waiver provision if a student is able to complete it at a time after the deadline? Complete the work for the course after the deadline, after the policy deadline?
Usually not. Usually what would happen was the grade would go back to whatever the grade was designated if the incomplete was not completed, and then the faculty member could put a grade change in the following semester. So there is a workaround mechanism if they don't meet the deadline. But to be honest, most students if they're going to complete within the next semester, they have 10 weeks to do it. Most students will meet that deadline. That's a really long amount of time to complete really what's left, only a third of work left in a course.
Okay, thank you. Comments from the regents? Any other comments? Motion to approve this item?
With the amendment, motion to approve as amended.
As amended, yes. So we read the amendment. Thank you. Yes, I meant it. Yes, as amended. Okay. Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion is approved.
Thank you very much. And I just want to give a really special thank you to Pam. She's been instrumental in helping us get through this work. So I just want to recognize the work that she has done. She and I talk very, very frequently, and she has been very helpful for us to understand the correct process to make sure these happen. So thank you for your time today.
Okay, thank you. The last item, CSU professor designation, Provost Kathoria.
Thank you, Regent Bloom. Southern Connecticut State University President Joe Bertolino had recommended that Dr. David Pettigrew, Professor of Philosophy, be appointed as Connecticut State University Professor, and President Terence Cheng has concurred. This appointment is made due to a retirement. Provost President, would you like to add any additional information here?
I would only speak in strong support of this nomination. Dr. Pettigrew is internationally renowned for his work in genocide, especially in Bosnia and Herzegovina. He is incredibly well published internationally, and his work has been translated into many languages, and his global reputation is really worthy of this designation.
Any comments or questions about this item? Motion to approve the CSU professor designation.
So moved.
So moved. Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion is carried. Congratulations to the professor designate. I don't know if he will be at the full board meeting or not, but it might be a nice touch if he is at the full board meeting. Below threshold items. Any comment or question? They don't require a committee approval, but if any comments or questions about below threshold items? Okay. Seeing no comments or questions, emeritus appointments. Any comments about the emeritus appointment? Okay. No comments, no questions. Last item, Chair would entertain a motion to adjourn unless there's any good and welfare that anybody. Last time it was hard to get a second last month for the motion to adjourn, so I'm not sure why that was, but would you make Regent McCarthy?
So moved.
Okay, second by Regent Porth. All those in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion to adjourn carries. May I thank everybody for
Thank you very much.
I'm sorry.
I just said thank you.
Thank you. And I hope everyone has a really good summer. The committee, I assume, will probably not be together for a few months now. So I hope the air clears out and and we have people have a good summer. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care, everyone.
Take care. Yep.